Why does your toddler scream the second the screen turns off? You're not doing anything wrong as a parent. You're just stuck in a pattern that almost every family with young kids falls into without noticing it. And by the end of this video, you will understand exactly why it happens and what to do instead. Maya was a work from home mom with a 3-year-old named Leo. Most mornings went fine, but every afternoon around 2 o'clock, when she had a call to join or an email that couldn't wait, she handed Leo her phone. Just for 10 minutes, she told herself. Just enough to get through this one thing. 10 minutes turned into 30, and when she finally reached for phone to take it back, Leo didn't just complain. He screamed. He threw himself on the floor. He hit at her hands, and Maya sat there afterward, exhausted, wondering what she had done to make her sweet, easygoing kid turn into someone she barely recognized. She hadn't done anything unusual. She had just never been told what was actually happening inside Leo's mind during those 10, then 30 minutes. This video walks through a set of ideas that come from research on children and screens, and from the simple set of rules that help families make the digital world smaller and the real world bigger again. Not by banning everything, not by turning into the strict parent who says no to every request, but by understanding what screens are actually doing to a young child brain, body, and emotions, and by making a few small doable changes. Here is the problem laid out plainly. Researchers have found that a huge share of young children in the United States now spend hours a day looking at a screen. Some studies put it at 7 or more hours daily for an average child, once you count TV, tablets, and phones together. Compare that to the time preschoolers spend playing outside, which researchers have measured at closer to 90 minutes a day worldwide. The gap is enormous. And it keeps going as kids get older because outdoor play tends to shrink even further once a child starts school. This matters because of what happens during those screen hours. A well-known study followed a group of 10 and 11-year-olds and found that the kids who spent more than 2 hours a day on screens were more likely to struggle with attention, mood, anxiety, and behavior. The same study found that the kids who spent more time being physically active handled their emotions better and got along better with other kids. In other words, the time isn't neutral. It's either building skills or it's replacing the activities that build those skills. And it's not just about behavior. A young child's eyes are still developing the natural protection that adults have against the blue light that comes off phone and tablet screens. That light can reach deeper into the eye and cause more strain in a child than in an adult. Add in the habit of holding a device too close to the face, and you have a recipe for real eye strain building up over years, not just in one sitting. Sleep takes a hit too. A toddler who is wound up from the bright, fast-moving videos right before bed is not going to drift off easily. The stimulation lingers. So does the habit of needing a screen to fall asleep at all, which then becomes its own problem down the road. So why do so many caring, thoughtful parents end up here anyway? It's really about laziness. It's about survival. A parent needs 10 quiet minutes to answer one email, or make dinner without a toddler underfoot, or simply sit down for once. The phone works instantly, and it is the easiest tool in the house. The problem isn't that the parents reach for it. The problem is what happens when nobody ever teaches the child or parent a different way to handle the 10 minutes. This is where the things start to shift and where Maya's story picks back up. Maya tried something different the next day. Instead of just handing Leo the phone in the middle of her workday, she gave him a warning first. In 5 minutes, I need you to give the phone back because I have a meeting. She said it once, then reminded him again after a couple of minutes. When the 5 minutes were up, she didn't rip the phone away. She said calmly, "Time's up now. Remember, I told you 5 minutes ago." Leo still whined a little, but the meltdown that usually followed didn't happen the same way. He had time to prepare. His brain wasn't caught off guard. That's the first shift. Children live entirely in the present moment. When something exciting is suddenly taken away with no warning, it feels to them like it came out of nowhere. A simple heads up, given a few minutes ahead of time and repeated once or twice, gives a young child's mind time to catch up before the change actually happens. The second shift Maya made was explaining why, in words Leo could understand. Not because I said so. Instead, something like, "Your eyes need a break, and then we can go do something fun together." Kids don't need a lecture. They need a reason that isn't just a wall of authority. Even a short, honest explanation changes how a child experiences the moment. It moves from feeling like a punishment to feeling like a normal part of the day. The third shift was the hardest one. and also the one that mattered most. Maya started building a routine around what would replace the screen time instead of what would just end it. She kept a small box of building blocks near the kitchen table. When Leo's screen time ended, she didn't just take the phone. She opened the box and sat down with him for 5 minutes before going back to work. That handoff mattered. A child who loses a screen and is left with nothing new to do will keep asking for the screen back. A child who loses a screen and is handed something engaging moves on far more easily. This is where the exploration goes a little deeper. Because screen time rules only work long term if they are paired with something to fill the space that opens up. Physical play is one of the biggest pieces. Times outside, even just in a backyard or at a nearby park, does something a screen cannot. It builds what researchers call cross motor skills, the big movements like running, climbing, and jumping. It also gives a child's nervous system a chance to release built up energy and emotion in a healthy way. A child who has spent an hour running around a playground handles frustration differently than a child who has spent the same hour sitting still in front of a screen. Indoor play matters just as much, especially on the days when going outside isn't possible. Simple activities like sorting small objects, using tongs or tweezers to pick things up, stacking blocks all build fine motor skills, which is the same hand control a child will later need to hold a pencil and write. None of this requires expensive toys. A muffin tin and a handful of buttons can do the job. Social play matters too. Young kids aren't great at sharing, yet, and that's completely normal. But playing near other kids, even without directly interacting, called parallel play. It teaches a child how to handle being around others, how to notice feelings, and eventually how to take turns and cooperate. That's a skill screens completely cannot teach, no matter how educational the app claims to be. And here is the detail worth sitting with. The American Academy of Pediatrics has pointed out that for a child under 2, it doesn't matter how educational a program looks. At that age, kids haven't developed the ability to actually learn from a screen the way they learn from a real person talking, reacting, responding to them in real time. A tablet can show a child colors and shapes. It cannot notice when a child is confused and adjust. A parent can. Now, here is the climax of this whole idea. The part that ties everything together, and it's a little uncomfortable to hear. Kids don't learn screen habits from apps, they learn from watching their parents. If a child sees his mom check her phone every few minutes, glance at it during dinner, or answer text mid conversation, he learns that this is simply how people behave. Rules about screen time only work if the adult in the house follows a version of the same rules. That doesn't mean parents need to give up their phones. It means noticing when the phone comes out and choosing on purpose to put it down when the child is trying to talk, play, or just be noticed. Maya noticed this in herself before she ever changed anything with Leo. She realized that half the time Leo tugged at her sleeve while she was scrolling, she kept scrolling for another few seconds before looking up. To Leo, that felt like being ignored. Once she started putting the phone face down and looking up right away when he wanted her attention, something small but real changed. He stopped needing to escalate to get noticed. He just needed to ask once. That's the real shift. No more rules, not stricter punishments, just more attention given consistently, so a child never has to fight a screen for his parent focus. So here is where this leaves us. Unplugging a child from the digital world was never really about banning technology completely. It's about making sure the real world, the one with dirt under fingernails, building blocks on the floor, and parent who looks up when called, stays bigger and more interesting than screen. One before you take it away. Explain why in words a child understands. Replace it with something engaging instead of just removing it. Get outside when you can. And model the behavior you want to see because that's the lesson that actually sticks. Maya didn't get it perfect overnight. Some afternoons still ended with Leo upset and Maya frustrated, but the meltdowns got shorter and further apart. And the days felt less like a battle over a phone and more like two people figuring out a new routine together. If this helped you screen time a little differently, subscribe so you don't miss the next one.